conference will now be recorded.
Thank you, Caleb. Well, good evening, folks. My name is John Shorey. I'm the chair of the Harwich Finance Committee, and welcome to the meeting here tonight, Thursday, February 10th, 2022. It's a virtual-only meeting, remotely, and we'll begin the agenda. Since it's virtual, I think I'm supposed to do a roll call vote. I'll do that anyway, just to make sure. When I call your name, if you can just signify you're here. Dan Torek.
Here.
Angelo Lamonte.
Here.
Brian Weiner.
Here.
Aaron Doucette.
Here.
Mark Keller.
Here.
Okay, great. And then John Choi, so that gives us a quorum of 6 people, and we'll begin. And so again, welcome to the first kickoff meeting to the Financial Committee fiscal year 2023 budget cycle. And I'd first like to welcome Mark Keller to the meeting, newly appointed.
Kelleher.
Kelleher, excuse me.
That's right.
Too many Marks on my mind. Mark Kelleher, sorry. Welcome, Mark. He was on the Housing Authority, and as some folks, he did run for selectman last year. And I welcome him. I've spoken with Mark a few times before he was appointed. He expressed a sincere interest in joining, and I'm glad he got appointed. So welcome, Mark. And
Thank you.
And someday we'll be meeting virtually, so you can meet all these folks and ladies in person. And welcome to if anyone's listening in remotely or views this later at a later date, welcome, and thank you for listening to our meeting. First order of business, I'd like to have 2 sets of meetings approved, and if that stand, to make a motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes to September 16th, 2021 and October 18th, 2021.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Angelo. Okay. Is there any discussion? Mark, obviously you weren't here. You can't comment. Dan, any discussion on the minutes at all?
No, not here. No.
Okay. Thanks, Angela.
No, I read them and they're fine.
Ryan, any discussion? And Karen, you weren't appointed to the committee then either, so, or were you? Yeah, I guess you were. I'm sorry. Were you good? Okay, thank you. I forget when you came on. And I have no comment at all. Hearing no further discussion, I'd like to take a vote. All those in favor, say aye. I'll do roll call votes on this. Mark? Oh, excuse me, Dan?
Aye.
Angelo?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
And John, that's 4, and 2 abstentions. Well, Karen, were you on the board for these meetings?
I thought so.
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Yeah. Aye.
Aye, great. Okay, that's fine. That's definitely makes a nice quorum there too. Okay, the next order of business is Mark, did you have a question?
No, I don't have a question, no.
Okay, sorry. Okay, next is discussion, and just a discussion at this point. There's nothing to vote on. I barely got budgets to try to get them out as quickly as I could. And it was tough getting draft budgets, but I got the majority of them. We can discuss them. Just as a reminder that they are still draft and subject to change. None of them have been approved at all by the appropriate people. And it's more or less what do we want to do with these budgets? Do we want to bring folks in that are responsible for the budgets? And like on the town budget, there's a number of people responsible. Joe Powers, of course, Carol Copel, the finance director. And then if we have any individual department head budgets, we can bring those folks in too. And that's what I'd like to really focus on tonight, is just bringing in the appropriate people And we can talk briefly about the budgets, but it's also subject to change right now. I'd hate to get into real specifics because it may be changing shortly.
So John, is it valid that I think on the Board of Selectmen, they said that they were going to be meeting with us, the Finance Committee, on the 5th of March? Is that, or that's the goal right now? Is that what I heard on that meeting on Monday?
The 5th of March, Karen, is a tentative meeting, and that's a tentative meeting between the Selectmen, Finance Committee, and department heads. That's something that we've done in person years past. Last year, we did it over, I think, 2 or 3 days virtually, but they're looking to have it in person this year. It's not on hold, but it's creeping along slowly, and to see how this COVID plays itself out. I don't think we usually had it in the regular, the Griffin Room at Town Hall, and it's too small a room to bring, the 2 boards in there with department heads and stuff, and lunch is usually provided too. So I think Joe is maybe thinking doing something at the community center in the general purpose room, but that's what the May 5th is a tentative. That's what that's about.
And during that, is that where the department heads present their budgets? So we're talking about getting more familiar with them. Is that where they actually present them?
No, they didn't. Well, what we do is they'll bring them in and they'll briefly speak about it. And then if the selectmen have further questions, or we do, we can ask the appropriate department head. It's not really meant to get into a full-blown budget discussion at that time.
Okay.
We will have meetings before that with the selectmen and with public hearings too. There are some key dates, and I'll go over those a little further on during the conversation here.
Early question then. I would like to meet with some of these folks, because I would like to hear some of the detail behind some of the priorities that Joe laid out in the meeting on Monday. As an example,
I'd like to speak to that as well, John. So,
as an example, the cultural center plan, right? We all keep saying that we want to see the details and the financials behind the cultural center plan, because they seem to have a strong leaning towards keeping the cultural center, but I haven't seen anything that you can base that on in terms of data.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Karen. The cultural plan is very, very nebulous, I guess is the proper term right now. I haven't seen any official information on it at all. I think Joe Powers, the town administrator, is supposed to present something to the selectmen by March 1st, but I do not know. That one is a big topic, Karen, right there.
I know.
That's a very big topic.
to that concept, that idea, I'd like to just even go a little further, because I agree with Karen. More than that, though, this is like my 3rd budget cycle since I've been on the Finance Committee, so I've become more street savvy with each experience. My concern is that in previous cycles that I've been involved in, when the warrant comes to us, it's a thumbs up, thumbs down. We never have the opportunity to express to the Board of Selectmen or anyone else that we might have points of concern that would essentially make the process of developing the warrant more sensible. And in this case, I agree with Karen, first of all, because what they call a cultural center has lost almost $600,000 based upon the numbers that I've seen. And that's bottom line money, and that's before we staff for this thing. Secondly, it's really not a cultural center, it's a craft center. And there are craft centers all around the Commonwealth you can point to that have been around for over 100 years. They're incredibly successful freestanding 501c3s. There is no reason for the taxpayers, in my opinion, to subsidize this effort. But beyond that, Karen, I agree with you 1,000%, but I also feel that there are other areas of concern. He's proposing adding 3 firefighters that the state is going to fund for 3 years, or 4 firefighters for 3 years, but the net is that after 3 years, those firefighters are our obligation. The fire chief says that we are fully staffed right now with personnel, so those firefighters are not needed. it would be incredibly wrong of us to take those people on, keep them for 3 years, and then let them go because either they're not needed or we can't afford them. That doesn't make a great deal of sense to me. So many of the things that he has pointed out are disconcerting. In addition, the capital outlay, which is committing an enormous amount of money to the Brooks Academy, in lieu of other things that are really needed here in the town. In the capital meetings that we were involved with, John and I, they talked about how the seating in the community center was falling apart and unsafe, no longer safe for habitation, for use. The room is too hot, it needs a ceiling fan. The total cost for repairs and installation was under $100,000, but they're ready to commit $6 million to invest in Brooks Academy, which people don't utilize in this town. So I think the issues and the prioritizations are problematic. I'd at least rather express them now before the warrant is drawn than after, when we are simply we're being asked to do a thumbs up, thumbs down. We can do no more. So that would be my suggestion to the members of the Finance Committee, that we become more proactive than we've been in the past. I think it would be useful to the people who live here. I think that tax money, we look at the capital plan looking out 5 years, is a staggering amount of money, almost $80 million. And that money's got to come from somewhere. So at some point, there's going to have to be a fiscal reckoning. And I'd much rather we talk about it now than.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Brian, with all of that. So, John, we should meet with individual folks to get much more clarity on their proposed budgets.
I agree with both of what you said, 100%. And I've fought this issue many times, and I think Brian's absolutely right. We've got to see what we can do this time around. And to that point, I'll get in touch with Joe and Mike and let them know the feeling of at least a couple members of the board. I'm not sure how Angelo feels.
Absolutely, I think it's terrific what Brian just said. And we absolutely need to do it. And by the way, in the past, this committee met with everybody and did exactly what you're saying. Well, not just saying yes to the selectmen, but to understanding what each of the departments wanted and try and guide them.
I make a motion, Angelo. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I think we're all on the same page. So I would like to propose a motion and ask the board to consider it. And that motion would be that we request our chairman to convey to the chairman of the Board of Selectmen and to the town administrator that we would like to meet in advance of these conversations with department heads so that we can express to them what our points of concern are now before the warrant is drawn. And so I would like to move that and ask someone to consider seconding it.
I think that it's a good thought, Brian. I'm not sure public, and if someone knows the answer, maybe you do, Angelo. Can we do that, Angelo? I did not put that on the agenda to vote on anything on this session here. Can a motion be made and voted on?
I'm sure you can do it. I think we can do it, though.
Okay. You think we can do it?
I think we can agree if we want to do it.
Okay.
And don't take a formal vote, but I think you've seen that we were all in agreement.
Yeah. Would that be okay, Brian? If I
That's fine with me. I just, John, you and I met this afternoon. You and I both agree. I want this to happen. I want to have a conversation now. Because I think it's in the best interest of everybody that lives in this town and the next 5 years for the people of this town. Okay. So I'm not running for political office. I just simply want to see this town do the right thing for its citizens. And I'd like to do it now before we get a closed document. I really would.
I agree 100%. Dan, how do you feel on this type of?
Totally supportive of the motion.
Okay. Mark?
The only thing I would say is they had that taxpayers meeting today, kind of run by Rich Gunderson, and they're talking about doing a warrant on their own, like a citizen's warrant, with a study and everything. So that may be a little complicating factor. I don't know if you know any more about it, John, but I know they had drafted I think if you get 10 signatures, you can put a warrant on.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They only have they have to submit it tomorrow is the deadline for that. But Brian and Karen are speaking more globally. They're talking about operating budgets too, and
Yes.
many warrant articles. And the cultural center is the biggest one of the bunch here. But let me get with Michael and Joe and let them know what our feelings are. And then we'll see how they approach it. I mean, the selectmen can easily put this on their agenda and we can discuss it.
Yeah, the thing I want to do is this is my first round going through this, as many of you guys know, and so I really would love the detail. And as Brian mentioned something about Brooks Academy, I would love to hear what's behind that and have that. I mean, there's big things like we could probably have a list of, I don't know. I mean, there's like a whole ton of stuff we could have people coming in front of us. Maybe we need to prioritize what we absolutely need to hear about in case we don't have time to hear on everything. And maybe we do have for everything, but like Brooks Academy, the Cultural Center, all these new headcount that Joe talked about on Monday and, what's driving those. I wasn't entirely sure about the firemen, if they're already fully staffed, I would like to, that's part I didn't quite catch on Monday. I listened to that meeting. So there's things that any of these new headcount and I'm pointing at my notes because I took notes when I was watching it. I would love to hear more about those and sort of what's justifying it. And I think some of them will jump out as a high priority where some of them you'll go maybe fall lower on the list. And if we don't have the money, then those are the ones that fall off.
So Karen, I just would like to respond to your comment because I agree. I will tell you that every time I have asked what drives the Brooks Academy passion, the comment I get back is, well, it's half of our flag. Well, the other half of the flag has got to be changed anyway. So I don't really care if they take Brooks Academy and make it a beautiful, Hollywood soundstage so that it's gutted inside, but it has its appearance for the flag. I don't really care. But to invest $6 million in a building that people of this town can't utilize, that makes no sense to me. Not at all.
It's an expensive storage unit, but I think we definitely need the details behind it. And maybe there's more to it that I don't know. And that's the reason I think I have very limited understanding of some things and, maybe more hearsay. And I would love to hear it directly from them. So what are you intending to use that building for? What are you intending to use the cultural center for? How does it all come together financially? And if that's where I feel like the town needs that to make an informed decision when we go to vote.
Yeah, I agree. In Brooks Academy, just to be clear, they're not asking for any money this year for Brooks Academy, but in the capital plan, to Brian's point, there is capital out there for, I think, Brian, for the next 5 years.
5 years.
$3 million, but that is short of what the total amount for that building is needed.
And that's on top of last year's CPC money.
Yeah, 1.2 million last year.
John, I think there's two things we have to do.
Okay.
One, we have to pick out the 5 or 6 key things, like the buildings, that building or this building, or the problems that are up in this, and then try to understand those. But I think we also have to list each of the departments we have, and look at each of those departments and figure out what they collect in terms of revenue, what they cost us, and where their balance is. And that's the only way you can build a budget. We have to also have somebody make a decision. You take the DPW, they take a lot of money in and they give it to other departments. So when we look at the DPWs, you see they cost this amount of money, but they're giving money to other departments. And that should be covered, and we should go through that. But I think they're two different things. I went through the 70 pages today, and I can't figure out the budgets for the individual departments on this.
No,
I can't figure out.
Makes no sense.
The only thing I can figure out is they are at this point thinking that next year the total businesses, the total people that we will have here in town coming in for the summer vacations and all will be the same as last year or the year before. I don't think they're understanding that there's probably a change in the virus situation. So maybe there will be more restaurants and those kinds of things involved. So I don't know where they're going. I can't tell from this data, and it's this much. If I can, and it's not a budget. I don't know what it is. It's individual lines that you could use all the numbers from, but I don't know how you put it into where you put it. I don't know how to do that.
I agree.
Okay. I understand. I really understand what you've all said here. Let me, like I said, let me get with Michael and try to get in touch with Joe about it, and let them know our feelings and how we can move forward. Because in reality, we don't have a lot of time either. You know, we just literally got this 70-page document on Tuesday, with not a lot of detail. I tried to call Carol today, and she's on vacation. And then I'll get back to the committee with what we can do. What we can do. Yes, Angelo?
Yeah, one other thing. The cultural situation is very interesting, and that you can't find that in any of the documents that we had got today.
No.
At all. Okay, so that's one. Two, and I happen to go to the Cultural Center in Yarmouth. I'm sorry, it's a very nice place. It's a wonderful thing, and I'm surprised on something. If you go look up capital, that kind of thing, you find out it's the only one that's named the Cultural Center. It's the only one named the Cultural Center in the United States. They're called other things. And I don't think they're going to be happy when we try and go into the business against them as a cultural center. And they may very well be able to stop us from using that name. So somebody should check that out. The other thing is, since I go there on a monthly basis, weekly basis, I get an agenda. I don't think anybody who's talked about it has ever talked about the kinds of things that they do there. John, I can send you one. You send it to these people. I think people have to know what it really is about. I think it's terrific to have one of those, but we have one. If you want it, we have one. And I don't think it's not pickleball, by the way, either. I don't like pickleball, but that's not there.
No.
You know?
I was on that board for over a year, so I'm very familiar with, and it is completely contrary to everything that they're calling a cultural center here in Harwich. Everything is completely contrary.
No, I've actually visited the Cultural Center myself, Angelo, and spoke with their executive director at lengths. And but yes, it's clearly probably the number one item on our list of we've got to get more details, tremendous more details. And I've made a few other things here. The few department hires, the new hires, which the total is about 4, excluding the firefighters. That's another 4. And well, let me see what I can do, and I'll get back to you folks relatively quickly.
John, with your request to them, what I would ask is that this meeting, in my mind, this tool is working just fine to do it remote. I think it would be, I don't think it would be good to not allow us to join remotely on the 5th or whatever date we meet with the department heads. I think that's, I certainly can't be there on the 5th if that's the day it can be, but I can be online. So I think it would be a real bummer from my perspective if we didn't utilize some tool like this to allow us to join remotely.
No, that shouldn't be a problem, Karen. I'm sure we can do a hybrid type meeting. And, that's one reason why I wanted to do a total remote one at this night is I wanted to make sure I got a quorum, but also to include you and Dale. Dale couldn't make it tonight. He would have made it if we needed a quorum. But to definitely bring you in and make you part of the group here. So is there any other particular points on the town budget that really jump out to folks? Other than, I know the cultural center, a few of the departments, and Brian, maybe you and I can get together and come up with a list. And
I think I suspect, John, there's a strong case for a couple of these headcount, obviously, like maybe in the health department or whatever. But I think we just want to see it all, just the justification. That's all.
Meanwhile, poor Robin Kelly toils running our cemeteries by herself with no vacations, and they're never going to give her any help. So it's just crazy. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay.
Totally agree.
So I'll do that, and I'm just looking through my list here. This is a very good discussion. I'm glad we have we're doing this. I really am. I think it's a great thing to do.
John, I would ask that when you speak with Mike and also with Joe, that you do convey to them that it was definitely the united spirit of the Finance Committee that we have this conversation before the warrant is drawn.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think it's important that we want to be able to make them aware of the things that are points of concern for us rather than just vote them all down.
Mm-hmm. No, I will do that, Brian. Yeah. That was the town operating budget. The capital budget, which I have on our list here. Brian and I are at the liaison to the capital budget. We did vote on the fiscal year 23, but I did not have it in, Joe handed it out in the handout sheet. I did not have it digitally. And I tried to get it digitally. We did approve it as a committee. And I thought Joe said when we met, Brian, he was going to present it Monday night to the selectmen, and he did not.
No, I think it was not put in the packet for a reason.
Yeah. I can't, speculate on that, but so I don't have a budget. We do have an approved budget, but I don't have one to hand out to folks yet. I'm sorry about that. 5-year plan, we haven't approved that yet. We're trying to meet on to approve a 5-year plan. What I can speak to you is that the suggested 5-year plan now is $80 million. And that's a huge, huge number. Now, the bulk of that is the septic for East Harwich, phase 3. So I don't want to mislead people, but it's still, it's $80 million, however you look at it. And that's just that. That's not bringing in any capital that once the cultural center numbers do get released as to what they figure capital. There is some capital in there for the cultural center of about $1.5 million, but I've toured that cultural center. It's going to take a lot more than $1.5 million to bring that up to what they envision. I think, but we'll wait to see on Joe's numbers on that. The next budget I have is which I've sent out to people, is the water sewer budget. And the water budget, and it's most folks know that the water is an enterprise fund, which is paid out of their retained earnings. They pay for their operational costs. Now, I do know that for the water piece of the house, and the water piece of their house, their budget only went up 0.2% of retained earnings. So there isn't much discussion there. But the sewer piece is an enterprise fund, and they're supposed to be paying out of return earnings there, but there's no sewer has started flowing yet. So there's no earnings coming in on the sewer, but yet they're requesting $2,357,000 to run that department for this year. Now that's, I think, an explanation piece there. I think that 1.8 million is for debt. Might be for phase 2 or something like that. I'm trying to get clarification on that.
Yeah, they're showing 1.8 million in debt.
Yeah.
So we've heard, John, several times that they're going to start soon to collect. Like what? I guess that's what we need, right? Is that plan about when does that commence and how does that factor into those numbers, right?
Yeah, and even when it starts flowing, Karen, I don't think there's enough flow to pay for this type of budget here.
No way. No way.
Yeah.
There's like no revenue and no retained earnings on that budget. None.
Because when flow starts, we're on the hook for, I believe it's 24% of the operating costs of the Chatham treatment plant.
24%.
So, and that number is not in here at all either. So that I just made a note to get the definitive numbers on that. I have heard, though, letters have gone out to people in East Harwich to start lining up a contractor to hook you up. So they are getting closer to flow. But I don't know. I'll find out that information.
I believe they have a year, though. If I remember correctly, the document, I think it says it gives them a year to get it engineered and connected.
And they may have extended that to 2, Brian. I think they give them agreed. But I do not think they're aggressively going to go after people if they don't, because I have heard from people in East Harwich that they haven't got the money to hook up. Some of these hookups are $10,000 to $15,000, and they just do not have the money to do it. So, ever to do it. And so I don't know how that's going to happen. I think they did extend the hookup to 2 years.
I mean, where it's going to go, in my opinion, is I agree with you again completely. And in other towns, I've seen it done where they take a 20-year betterment on the work. But I don't know where we get the funds to run the betterment.
Yeah, no, and now they're talking about engaging with Dennis for a co-location of a treatment plant out there. So we'll have to see where that goes. The next one is the Cape Cod Tech. I did speak with Erin Otcut this morning, and she got me the numbers on the capital piece. She has neglected to send that to me yesterday. When I found out it was missing, I called her this morning. She sent it, and you can see, what our assessment at Cape Cod Tech is this year. It's $2,779,314. And the main thing driving that, if you looked at the spreadsheet on that, is that our students increased over there, 20 students. I mean, out of the 11 towns, we had the highest enrollment of all those towns there. And then Cape Cod Tech is just purely driven by student enrollment there. So that's where they're at this year. That budget is up by 20 students, but each student costs $20,000 to educate. And that's the Cape Cod Tech budget, which is pretty clean. There really isn't anything that we can suggest there to cut money, to save money. I mean, if anyone else has an idea, I'm happy to entertain the thought there. The next one, of course, is the Monomoy Regional School District budget. And this Monday night, Scott Carpenter and Michael McMillan, Scott Carpenter is the superintendent, Michael McMillan is their business manager, are going to be doing a presentation to the selectmen. Selectmen are still doing in-person meetings and hybrid meetings, I believe. I will be in attendance at that meeting. I'm guessing Mark Kelleher will probably be there also. He seems to be there at all of them. So to hear what Michael has to say. But you've got the packet of information there. And I don't know how the town administrator, Joe, is going to handle it, and the selectmen, because there's basically 2 budgets that are being suggested by the school committee. And maybe that'll come out Monday night. We'll hear that. But if the current methodology for assessment doesn't change, our budget is up roughly $700,000. If the methodology does change, the funding mechanisms do change, our assessment is only up $8,000. And what's going on there is that the funding formula is going to be based on each school maintaining their own elementary school. Harwich would have theirs, Chatham would have theirs, and each town is respectively responsible for their operating budget for that school and the capital budget for that school. So in which case, Chatham's assessment is going to go up over $700,000 under the $921,000, almost $1 million under the new assessment. But what happens to happen there, and I'm sure that'll come out Monday night also, is that the school committee has approved the new funding allocation. The Harwich selectmen have approved the funding allocation. It has to go, Chatham selectmen have to approve it. And then it goes to town meeting, and the Chatham residents have to approve it, and the Harwich residents have to approve it. I don't think we'll get much opposition on the Harwich side. Chatham, there may be. If they do not pass the new funding budget, it goes to what I've been told is called a big tent meeting, which is both towns get together somewhere and discuss the budget and vote on it. And my understanding is that the majority rules under that big tent agreement. So that's what we'll have to see how that all plays out. And I believe the Department of Education has approved all of this too. They were in part of this discussion, but I'm sure that'll come out Monday night. And I suggest that folks either can show up to that meeting Monday night in person or dial in. Dialing in is difficult sometimes, but you're more than welcome to dial in, or you can watch it the next day. But so that's where we are on the school budget. I mean, it's as Brian said today. I mean, their budget is I don't know how many pages was their budget, Brian. 55.
It's annoying. It's a beast. But the thing that is worth noting is Dr. Carpenter and his staff, his team, are asking for the most modest investments programmatically and staffing-wise, the most modest. And my concern is that those are going to be a fixation of the Board of Selectmen when they review Dr. Carpenter's budget. I mean, these when you look at his asks in the budget, the updated budget, they're so nominal, so incredibly nominal. New reading program materials. It's hard to take exception to any of it, but I'll be shocked if this doesn't become a gigantic point of contention.
Mm-hmm. And I guess we'll see that Monday night when Carpenter presents their budget and stuff. Does anyone? It's an overall. It's the second largest budget. It's $28 million. Does anyone have any thoughts on that budget and what we'd like to see asked of Dr. Carpenter at all? Or you can wait to see what they present and we can take it from there. Okay, the next one is town warrant articles. I do not have anything on definite town warrant articles. The selectmen have tentatively approved some warrant articles, but there's nothing documented as to what's been approved. I believe Joe is going to do that Monday night also. I believe I read it on the agenda today, so we're going to get a glimpse Monday night of what some of those warrant articles are. And I'm not sure.
Sorry, John, in the meeting the other day, he said in the next meeting, which is Monday, he would bring not the actual detailed wording, but a sort of a summary to give a preview into what's coming.
Correct.
That's what I heard, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Mark. You're the IT guy here. Yes, that's correct. But at least that'll give us some thoughts and we can ask for more detail again, because it seems like things are getting compressed here. That give us a lot of chance to ask, to Brian's point, a lot of time to ask for detail here. And it's either a thumbs up or thumbs down. And I don't like that approach on this thing. I don't think we're doing the citizens of the town any service by doing that. I mean, you might as well just say, okay, whatever you say, guys, is good with me.
Well, for all the due diligence that we're asked to invest our time in as a committee, it makes sense for someone to listen to our thoughts before these articles are drawn and given to us as sealed documents.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So we'll see Monday night what those warrants are. It's not going to be an inclusive total warrant, but at least it'll give us a snapshot of maybe some money articles. The last one on the budget that we are asked to vote on at some point is the community preservation articles. The CPC, I have attended their meetings. The CPC has voted on 10 articles, and there are 10 articles total. Where is that piece of paper? Here we go. The 10 CPC articles, which is paid out of community preservation, that's at 3% tax surcharge on your property tax. You know, some people say almost it's like free cash. It's not free cash. I mean, it comes out of the taxpayers. Dan, you can speak to that. You were on the committee. I mean, it's tax money. It comes from taxpayers in town. Now, we do get reimbursements or some matching grants from the state, but that's up and down every year. So I don't know what this year's is. But that total is about $2.3 million of 10 articles there. The biggest one is in the Chronicle today. And that's another good source of information. While I mentioned the Chronicle, they have a lot of information in there on the budget cycles. They do a pretty good job of fairly reporting things accurately. And there's a big article on almost half of what the CPC article is, some 75 acres out in Hawk's Nest that has come up for sale. And the open space is the petitioner, and it's going to be paid for out of CPC. Not the total price. I think the total price in the paper is $3.5 million.
$3 million.
$3 million. And Harwich Trust is going to raise the rest. And they're very good at raising money, Harwich Trust. For a small conservation group, they're tremendous. But the Chronicle is a good source of information for folks on the call here to get accurate or information on what's happening in town. And that's about all to say. I will say I like your spirit, Karen, and Brian's. I know yours too, and Angelo. I mean, and Dan. I mean, it's good. We can try, and I will try. I'm in your corner on this 100%, and I will. And Mike has been pretty good on listening to me. Very good. I commend Mike on that. And he's aggressively going after this. If you watch the selectmen's on the tax on the property taxes, he is aggressively going after that. He mentioned it in the meeting there Monday night that he'd like to put some funding in the budget to hire some more people to aggressively go after this. They've adopted a spreadsheet, thank you, Karen, that Karen put together. I was really surprised when I saw that there. But I did speak to Amy Bolduck, the treasurer, and they've engaged this gentleman. I think he's with the Cape Cod Commission, I'm not sure. But he's going to write some type of, I guess, I don't know what the proper term is called, a wizard maybe, that he can go in, look at the data, build this spreadsheet, and then the collector and Carol can every month just push a button and see where we're going. You know, we're not going down at all on this. We're continually going up, and we're at $6.7 million now of up. And they are collecting stuff, but it's still going up. And the taxpayers need to see this. And I know there's some complications with owners unknown, properties unknown, but there's a lot of owners that are known, and they're not aggressively going after this. So
John, on that point, on the owners unknown and miscellaneous, they talked about that on the meeting the other night, and they said, again, I'm not going to claim to understand all of what they said or what's behind it, but they said something about there needs to be, in order to move that forward, you need a pretty substantial amount of money in an escrow account in order to support that. to support that process. And I don't know enough about that, but I would imagine that that money would have to appear in somebody's budget to put it in an escrow of some sort. So I don't know where we would see something like that.
I'm not sure either, Karen. I don't know if it's one of these things where they can take the property, sell it, and then put it. I'm not sure, but that's Michael's work. They know how to do that. They're doing that. Yeah. So,
John, I have two questions for you.
yeah.
I've been looking for the last 2 days to try and see the selectmen's meeting for this Monday night on television.
Yeah.
I have not been able to find it. Are they taking it off television, or was it just a mistake today?
No.
It's physically not on.
I sent out a note to the group. Did you see that under?
Yeah, I know. I'm just talking about television. I'm not what you said.
I mean, Channel 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you? I didn't know if that had happened. The other thing, if you know, let me know. The other thing that is striking is a number of years ago, when I was a selectman, and it's more than 5 years, or 4 or 5 years ago, we had the costs in a budget situation on each of our accounts. And we understood what was going on in terms of how much was budgeted for the year, how much we thought would be done, how much income they would be bringing in, so that and every 2 or 3 months you could actually get a very good look at where things are. And if we don't know where that is, everything just kind of floats around. And if the budget can be done that way, even if it's just held for certain selectmen and department heads and whatnot, not the world or the world. But if we can't get those numbers, it's not just in the budgets.
You were breaking up there, Angela. What type of numbers are you looking for?
I am looking for how much money they've spent versus what they thought they might be spending, or how much money they have received in revenue that they thought they were going to get. How are they doing against the budget?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, by department and stuff.
By department.
Okay.
And we used to do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a difficult thing. And I don't think that our finance department would find it difficult.
Well, I'll make a note of that, Angelo, and I'll ask Carol.
She does show on that budget, Angelo, she does show the budget of 22 and the actuals. So you look at Joe's, the packet that Joe distributed, which is a hodgepodge. It does reflect the fiscal year budget and then the actuals for 22.
Well, I'm talking about doing it on a monthly basis, not an annual basis.
I'm sorry.
Because you do it on a monthly or a couple of month basis, then you know where you're going.
Sure. I
And
misunderstood.
that's what we used to do.
Okay.
It also enables you to move money from one department to another if you need to.
Let me chime in on that. For a couple of months, we were getting quarterly expenditure reports from Carol that did just exactly what Angelo had requested, but we haven't seen those in, I think, a couple of years now. But the information is available and readily available as far as I know.
I would think so, Dan. Yeah. I'll check with Carol.
Yeah.
And, is there anything else on budgets that folks would like me to find out, or I hear you loud and clear on what you're looking for. So.
No, that would get us going, John. I think that'd be great if we could start to set up some of those meetings, and a lot will come out of that, and that'll tell us what our next move should be in terms of what we need to wrap some of this stuff up before the warrants are written.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's no more discussion on that. The next one is discussion of future meetings, times, and dates. Some of the important dates for folks is February 14th, which is Monday. That's where Dr. Carpenter is going to come in and present the Monomoy budget and we'll hear what the warrant articles are. The next date is February 22nd. That's when the selectmen have to make changes to the budget, the town administrator's budget, and then submit that, I guess, final budget, if you want to call it that, to us, the Finance Committee, February 22nd. And then we have basically from February 22nd to March 31st, before we have to make our final recommendations to Joe and to the selectmen. And in between that, we have a couple of public hearings. We have joint hearings with the selectmen, but those are the three important dates coming up. Another important date, it has nothing to do with you folks, is next Wednesday I'm having my left knee totally repaired. So I'm going to be out of commission at least next week. Brian knows I get back into commission pretty quickly.
Disgusting.
So if we want to tentatively pick a date, at least we can meet remotely. I mean, even if I can't walk, I definitely can't drive. But that's a moot point there too, because I'm sure I'd get picked up if I had to meet at town hall. But if we want to just tentatively pick a date, so I can, get an agenda together and get it posted and stuff like that, and come back with some definitive answers to what we're trying to discuss here.
John, on that note, if you need to be transported anywhere, just give me a buzz. I'm around.
I got a new truck. I'm going to throw it right in the back of the truck, so it won't be a problem.
That's why I said I don't think getting around it. I have a lot of volunteers. And I appreciate. And we're not locked into to Thursday the 10th. I think the majority of the people on this committee are retired, and we can meet another date too. But the 16th is when I'm going to be operated on. And do we want to pick the 24th for right now in February?
Works for me.
And if things change in the next week or so, I'll get out a note to the committee to think maybe we move it up, to a date during the week or something. But this so I can pick a date now and build something around it that will meet the 24th, Thursday at 6:30 p.m. And
Virtual again?
yes, I think virtual for now, because we have Karen still down in Florida and Dale too, who really wanted to be on this call. And then virtually, it's not too bad virtually, I think. And
No.
I do like in person, but I can understand virtually is here. I mean, this is the new wave, as we all know now. So, and then I'll get that out to folks. Mark A., you have anything that you'd like to say at all? You keep you're the IT guy too. You should have the most stable connection.
I tried getting on with the link in the agenda, but it was a picture, so I had to retype it.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Yeah. But I also lost a fight with a feral kitten that showed up in my backyard. Missing a gray kitten, call me.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to catch him before the coyotes did.
Yeah, fully understand, yeah. So if anybody else has anything to say, let me know, or send me a note that say, geez, besides the cultural center, the departments, the new hires, this or that. I'm happy to do it. I'm fully behind with Brian and Karen. Pardon? Anyone have to say anything there? Or?
Just an echo from you.
Okay. I really appreciate it. I like the way this we can give it a try here. I know it's like fighting City Hall, as that old expression goes, but we can try. That's all we can do is try. And according to Joe, in his message, and I'm gonna get it so I can read it. I can find it. Here it is, right here. In Joe's, the town administrator's budget message that he gave to selectmen. In conclusion, read the whole thing because it's very. I take it. Oh, that's not the one I'm reading here. Hold on one sec, folks. This is very important.
Hey, John, while you're looking, the only thing I would say is watch out for the 4 firemen. It's probably a federal grant,
It is a federal
and
grant.
there's probably a timeline on it. And yeah, and it's probably going to be, it may be time sensitive, just to be careful not to be jammed on it.
It definitely is a federal grant, Mark. It's for 4 firemen for 3 years. They pay full salary and full benefits. But to Brian's point, what do we do after 3 years? And if we're already fully staffed fire department, do we need 4 more? I know Joe and the chief are engaging with that right now to figure that out. So we'll see what the outcome of that is. But okay, I found, I think I found it. Where is it? Okay, yeah, here it is. This is the note that Joe sent to Michael McCaskill and myself. In it, he says, I'm here to assist in the preparation of recommendations the committee, finance committee, may require the town administrator, the head of any division or any department or any other town officer or a member of a town agency to furnish us with appropriate data. And not only that, he said that to me, but in the town charter under finance committee, it's in the town charter that we have every right to ask for these information, and all participants are supposed to provide it with us. So, that's very important. If anything, anybody else has anything else? Anybody else like to say tonight? If not, Dan, if you want to entertain a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I'll do another call vote. Brian? Aye. Karen?
Aye.
Angelo?
Aye.
Mark? A?
Aye.
Mark Callahan?
Aye.
Okay. Well, thank you all. I really appreciate it. I like the discussion, and we'll try the best we can. So
Thanks, John.
okay.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody.
Caleb
Bye.
and Shane routine, we're all done, or can I push the button? I guess maybe I can push it. Okay, well, Caleb will shut us off. Thank you all.